everybody, Patty Ann here. Remember when I said that I was going to make for you one of these things of Jessie from Toy Story, like I had shown you in the very beginning of this video? Well, here it is. So what I've done so far is I've cut out mirror image of her head. I had to cut her into 3 pieces of her body. Whoops. There is a mirror image of her body. There we go. And then a mirror image of her legs. Okay, so this is just using the Prints and Cut feature on the Cricut machine to make something very quick and fun, and maybe for a party or something like that. Someone keeps giving me a thumbs down, and I guess that's because they don't like that I'm just cutting things out, printing and cutting them. I'm not sure. But anyway, this is what I'm going to show today. So join me down here at my computer and I'll show you how I decide to cut her up for this, because she's going to end up being about 15 inches tall. And as you know, our cutting machines only cut a certain size, and that's based on the browser that you're using. If you go down into the information below this video, I'll tell you which browser has which size of cutting available. So check down here. Okay, one of the first most important things to me is to find a good image. Now notice on this image all the shading. Look at the highlights and the shading in her cheek and her nose and her hair. I wanted that shading to show up. I didn't want it to just be a flat image. So I'll show you how to find an image similar to this down in Google Images. Okay, the next thing that I did was I just typed in Jessie from Toy Story in Google and did a search. And then I went to Images. And now oftentimes when I'm here, I'll tell you to go to Tools and Type and Clip Art. But this time I want a more realistic looking one, so I'm going to leave it where it is. But what I am going to do is go to Tools, and I'm going to come over here to Size, and I'm going to make it larger than this. 1600 by 1200. And then I'm going to choose one of these. Let's see this one. And notice this, when I hover over them, it tells you what size they are. And if you want to make something big, you'll never want to get it where the number of pixels is like 250 or 350 by something, because that will become all pixelated or blurry when you try to blow it up. That's why you want to get some of these big images. One other thing that you can do is you can go to Tools and More Tools. And under More Tools, you can click on Show Sizes. And so rather than having to hover over every one, you can just kind of scroll down here and you can see right away if they're a good size. So in other words, if I just went up here when I was choosing my images, just went to Images, and had no specifications for the size of it, I could go to Tools, More Tools, and Show Sizes. And now something like this at 250 pixels by 450, that would not be a good image. Even if I click on it and it looks pretty good here, if I were to try to blow this one up as large as I'd like it to be, it would just be a blurry mess. So I really want to go up here to Size, Larger Than, and I really like to stay over like 640 by 480, but I really like to pump it way up to here to this when I'm using a photographic one, or one that has a lot of shading and highlights. That's when I like to use the much larger one. So again, what I did was it this one? I think it's this one that I used. And so then I just go to Save Picture As. But I'm not sure if I used her because there's that text on there. I may have used this one, but I'm going to go to File, Save Picture As, And I'm going to save it as Jessie Toy Story _3, just because that's what I've done before. And I will just say save and close that out. And now I'm going to open up Cricut Design Space. Oops, this is where I've printed them before. So let me go to Canvas. Do I want to cancel the cut? Yes. So I'm going to do a new one. And I'm going to upload an image. Now notice I've already uploaded her here. So I went upload image and I went to the file. I browsed to the files where I have those. Have them in Toy Story. Jessie Toy Story 3. And I opened her up here. Now, I don't want her as a simple image because that kind of gets rid of a lot of the detail that I want. You look at that. Look, did you see what happened to it? I want this to be a complex image because I am going to print and cut. So wowee wow, she's huge. Now I can come up here to this magnifying glass and zoom out, but look at that hair. Look at that texture in her cheeks. Isn't that beautiful? And notice that on this one, there's nothing that I need to erase. It's already ready to go. If there had been a white background or something like that, I would have come up to this select and erase tool and clicked on it. But it's ready to go just as it is. So I click continue. Sometimes this takes a moment or two depending on how big the image is, but that was pretty darn quick. I'll put a tag in here of Toy Story to make her easier to find later if I need to. And just say save. Now I have two of the same things saved because I've already done this. And this might take a moment or two to save it. Okay, she's been saved, and now I'm just going to click on it to highlight it. You notice the green bar around it. And just say insert image. Now the next thing that I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut her apart, because watch, if I try to make it as it is and I click on make it, it says the image is too large. At least one of your printable images is too large. Please reduce the size to less than 9.25 by 6.75. Now, I have those dimensions because of the browser that I'm using. I'm using Microsoft Edge, I think it's called. Came with Windows Explorer or Windows 10. If you're using Firefox or Chrome, you'll have different dimensions. But again, I'll have those in the box below for you. But if you make an error, it will always come up and pop up and tell you what you need to do. So I need to go back, and this is when I need to cut her apart. Now I do want to make her about, right now she's 19 inches tall. I think I want to make her maybe about 18 inches tall. We'll see how that will work. I put in 18 up here, and the lock is still locked. So when I hit enter, it'll automatically change the width too. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to hit my control key and use my scroll wheel on my mouse so I can scroll out so I have more area over here in which to work. So the first thing I'm going to do is I think I will just duplicate her and put her over here and hide her, just so I have her. Okay, now the next thing that I need to do is I need to come over here to the shape tool, click on it, and I'm going to get a box. Now I think I can probably scroll in a little bit so you can see better. There you go. I'm going to unlock the dimensions of the box, and I'm going to make them the size that my browser will accept for my Cricut. And recall that the height was 9.25. Oops. And I'm going to hit enter. Okay, and the width is, and I have this written down on a card that I keep on my computer because I don't remember it. It's 6.75. And hit enter. Okay, there's the size of the box that I have. Now, if you'll notice, I can't put it this way because I can't get her whole hat in there. The object of this now is to try to cut her apart in places that may not be as noticeable when you put her back together. So I'm going to hit the shift key on my keyboard and use this rotate arrow so it will rotate in increments. And then I'm going to bring it up here by her head. And what I think I'll have this one do maybe is, you see her elbow right here? I might make it so that this comes down right at her elbow. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to send it to the back so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. So let's see, there's a little tiny bit, if you'll notice, of her blouse that's going to come below that, and I don't want that wee little smidgen. So I'm going to move her up just a tad. Oops, not that far. Right like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on her. See, she gets highlighted over here. And I can try to come over here, hold my shift key down and click on the box. But for me, it's easier to come over in the layer panel and hold my shift key down and click on the box. Now both of those things are clicked, so I'm able to slice. So I'm going to slice her head out. I want to keep that. I'm going to slice this part off and exit out. I don't need it, and I don't need that. Okay, so far I have her head done. The next thing I'm going to do is, I think I'll do her legs next, her feet. Let's see, I think I'll need to scroll a little bit, move her head over there, put this here. Oh, and so this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to come over here to shapes again, and I actually should have done this before. This is a pretty good, well, what is this? I only want one of these. This is a pretty good time saver right here. I should have done it originally. So I click on the box, and remember, for my height, I'm going to make it 9.25. And for my width, I'm going to make it 6.75. And again, that's because of my browser. And this is the size of the box that I have. So it's 6.75, and look, it's a square because I forgot to unlock the lock. So I need to make this 9.25 again. All right, there we go. Okay, now rather than having to do this every time, I should have just done this and duplicated it a few times when I needed it. I know I just need 2 more, so I'm just going to duplicate it once. And there I can go right over her feet like that. And again, I'm going to send this to the back so I can see. Now I'm looking carefully to see where I'd want to cut this off, where it would probably be the easiest for me to do and for nothing to really show that much. So like, for example, I don't want to cut those little fringes in half. I don't want to have to be taping those together. And I don't want to cut her hand in half. So I could just do it right there where her skirt ends on the one side. And whoops. I think that's what I'll do right there. Oh, she's moving because I don't have room. I need to scroll like this and bring this down and bring this down. So now, well, let me bring her down. Let me scroll back in again so I can see a little bit better. And put her over here. Right like that if she fits. Nope. Gotta move her over. Okay, to me that looks pretty good. So I'm going to once again click on her legs, come over here to my panel and click on, I think it's this box. Yes. So those two things are selected and I will say slice. And so I will keep her legs over here where her head is somewhere. Get rid of this layer and this layer. Now this should just fit in the box perfectly. I shouldn't have to do a thing to it, so there's no need to slice this part. Okay. So let's see if we put her back together. How she's going to do. Okay, I think that looks really good. Now, one last thing that I'm going to do, and I didn't used to do this, I've just started, is I'm going to put a tab on both sides of her body that will help me when I go to tape these together. So in order to do that, I go over here and get another shape, or the shape tool again, and I want it to be unlocked, so I can just make it small. Okay, and I want it to go here, just touching that, and I'm going to duplicate it and have it come down here, just touching. So I think I'll make it larger so I can make sure that it's touching but not overlapping. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to move this back up here and make sure when I put it there that it's not going to peek out on either side, knowing that it's going to be behind this. Like I would move this to the front because I'm going to be taping that on top of there. And notice that that little thing doesn't peek out. And I'll check up here too. And again, this would actually go on top so I could move it to the front and bring it down. And that little tab is not going to show at all. So the only thing that I have left to do now is to take all of these pieces, draw a big box around them, holding my mouse down so they're all selected. The two little squares that I added, and I think I'll just make those white just so they don't take up a lot of my ink, my black ink. Okay, make those white. Select them all again. And then I'm going to flatten it. And so, well, maybe I shouldn't have made them white because you can't see them anymore. Let me go back, undo that, just so you know they're really there. Undo. Okay, so rather than this be white, I think I'll just make it this cream color, and this one the cream color. Okay, and then flatten them again. So now this will all print as one piece. And I didn't do that on the samples that I did, but I have discovered that this is a really good technique to use because it gives you something extra to tape on down here. Now I want to send this to the, move this to the front because I need to see if that's going to show between her legs. No, it's no. Okay. All right. So then this is I have three things that are printing. 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go to make it. It's going to send it to 3 different pages. Now someone had asked, how do I set this up with my printer? Well, the only thing you have to do now is, assuming you have a printer either hardwired to your computer or it's set up wirelessly, you just go to, after you've gone to make it, you go to continue, and then it goes send to printer. And then over here, you will pick the printer that you have. I have this one. And before I continue on, the next important thing to do is to go to Advanced Options, because I want to make sure that my printer is set to best quality. I really want it to be the best, maybe even photo quality if you have that on yours. So when I come up here and I find my printer again, I will go to Preferences again and look to see if the print quality is best. Again, I don't want it to be draft or normal. I want best, and I would say OK, and then I would hit print. But I don't need to print any more of these, so I'll have you meet me back and I'll show you how I put them together. Okay, I'm ready to show you how I put her together. Today I went to the Dollar Tree and I just happened to get some of these a little bit larger craft sticks that I use for some of my projects. Let me show you. Here's the regular size popsicle stick and then the larger one. And I actually even have a small one that I found in a thrift store the other day, but I'll probably use these two sizes. So the first thing I'm going to do, and it's going to be a little harder because I cut these out before I had started doing it my new way. Remember I showed you that from now on I'm going to add the little tabs to part of it so it's easier to glue together after it's cut apart. Well, these don't have, this middle section doesn't have any little tabs, so I'm just going to have to match her up as best I can and just use some regular tape, Scotch tape, and tape on the back. See how she looks. That looks good. Okay, then I'm going to turn her over again. So now the next thing that I do with her, isn't she cute? I mean, those details show up perfectly. I just love it. Now the next thing that I do is I add the sticks, and I use my glue gun. And remember this little tip that I also told you, if you don't have a stand for your glue gun, a mug really works well, just to throw it in there and you don't have to be worried about what it might be dripping on or if it's burning something. So I'm just willy-nilly putting a line of glue, and actually I think I'll make a bigger line because I think I will start using one of these big ones. Now I don't want to get too close to any of the sides because I prefer if my wooden cord doesn't show. Then I'll put one here. There's no real rhyme or reason. Now that is a little bit too long, so maybe I will use one of these smaller ones there. Because again, I don't want it to show out. Here. Use one of the smaller ones again. Don't want it to show. So, okay. Now right here, whenever I have these connections, I really want to make sure I have a good solid foundation there. So I'm going to start here and go down with one of these regular sized ones. This is really calming to me. I love doing this. I know somebody keeps giving me the thumbs down, like I said, but it really is a lot of fun. Just try it. And maybe it's not exactly what you want to do with your Cricut, but it's fun just for something different. And maybe, will these little ones fit here? Probably not. It's going to show too much. So I think I'll leave that alone. But now you can see, let's see if you can see how well, whoopsie, she can stand. Whoops, she's attached to glue gun stuff. So there she is. Okay, I have the second Jessie put together, the one that was the mirror image, and I'm going to start putting her onto the first one. So I just start up here at the top, and I put glue on the sticks and a little bit around the edges, not too far down because the glue dries or gets cool pretty quick and it doesn't stick well then. This is the hardest part in my opinion because you do not get a second try. So that's it. If that doesn't work, you're out of luck. That's pretty darn close. Okay, so that part's done. Now I'm going to start doing the next. I just kind of fold her up like this so I can start putting more glue. To all these areas. Okay. Just going to kind of carefully put her arm down here and there and down. Pretty good. Lift up the legs. Continue on.